Hey everyone, welcome back. Bigelow Reviews here. I am Brent Bigelow, and I have a new review for you, and that is Conway the Machine's second studio album, God Don't Make Mistakes. Before we get into the review, I do want to apologize. I did not post last week. It was my birthday week. I was out kind of celebrating and kind of enjoying the time. Went to Columbus for the weekend. Caught a Columbus Crew game. If you guys have never done that before, I highly recommend it. It was so much fun. And then even also that weekend, I went ahead and saw Tyler, the Creator, in Columbus. That was my first time seeing Tyler, and what an amazing show. Super fun. But yeah, it was an awesome week, but I'm glad to be back and able to make some reviews for you guys. Like I mentioned, this is Conway the Machine's second studio album. I'm not going to fake it till I make it type of a deal. I never listened to his first album. Going into this, I kind of know his name through the whole Griselda thing with Westside Gunn, Benny the Butcher, all those type of guys, and then even Conway the Machine obviously is in that trio. With doing research on here, I didn't know that Westside Gunn and Conway are brothers, they're literal brothers, half brothers on their dad's side. That's insane. I didn't realize that. That's super cool. But even just a little bit of backstory. Other than that, like I said, they were on the label Griselda. And they kind of made their own music. The three of them did: Benny the Butcher, Westside Gunn, and Conway the Machine. They recently just signed a deal with Eminem and his Shady Records, which is awesome. This is Conway's first release off of Shady Records, which we've been looking forward to and we've been excited about since that happened in 2017. There's been delays after delay, especially with COVID and everything, so to finally be able to have this album and be able to listen to it is pretty amazing in itself. So the Griselda boys are from Buffalo, New York, from the hard streets of Buffalo, which I didn't think would be so crazy, but I guess in any city you're gonna have to deal with that. He was shot in the shoulder and in the neck. He is paralyzed on the left side of his face, and has Bell's palsy, where none of his muscles on this side of his face work. He still doesn't have feeling in his legs and some of his extremities. The fact that he's even alive to even put this album out is even more so amazing. And then in this album, he really digs into the details of that and how it feels to deal with something that tragic and still be able to have the gift that he has to be able to rap and make a living off of it. But all the way through this whole album, the lyrics are real, it's dark, it's heavy, it's very honest, and a really real rap album. We don't really get rap albums like this much anymore. I mean, me listening to hip-hop, I feel like Biggie in the 90s is probably the realest we can get some of his songs back in the day and how dark those were. A lot of similarities when it comes to this project, at least in my eye. But for Conway the Machine to be kind of an underground rapper along with his brother and his cousin, Benny the Butcher is his cousin, this doesn't feel like an underground rap album. Westside Gunn sure has been super popular lately, but it's nice to see that the Machine can hold his own. And the track Piano Love, the Machine has his girlfriend carry a gun in her Chanel bag into a club just in case anything goes down, and even talks in great detail about mixing drugs and making drugs in in a trap house. And then even in this song is one of two tracks on here that are produced by one of my favorite rap producers, The Alchemist, which this stuff is always real dusty and real traditional film noir type sounding beats. But not even on this song. It's a very beautiful track with this really nice piano throughout. But like I said, the beat's kind of in the grand scheme of The Alchemist, it's pretty much a mid beat, but it's very much expect the Griselda guys to rap on. On the track Tear Gas, which is the second song on the track list, you have Lil Wayne and Rick Ross coming through, just dropping some awesome bars. When I first listened to this album, I really wasn't looking at the track list to see who's on it, but I heard Lil Wayne's little yeah in the background. I was like, oh snap, we got Lil Wayne on this thing? And then Lil Wayne just torches it, man. Rick Ross's Maybach music. I was like, oh snap, Rick Ross, what? So I was excited to hear him on here too. But yeah, Lil Wayne owns it. The little running chorus that goes on throughout this track too is pretty awesome. You could tell the guys are just in the studio having fun with this one. This is really not meant to be taken so super serious, but it's just cool to see Conway the Machine on a track with Rick Ross and Lil Wayne. On the next track on here, we have drum work, and literally Conway the Machine is talking again in great detail about making drugs and killing people. This guy is about that action. On this track, he's talking about how, with there not being any shows or anything going on because of COVID, times were tough and he had to make some money, so he went back to like making drugs and selling, which is insane to me. He even goes far enough to say that like once he signed his deal with Eminem, he went and bought fentanyl. Like, holy crap. He's like, you know what I did with the money. You know what I did. Dude's out here making drugs. It's insane. The next song on here we have Wild Chapters, which is talking about how crazy life can get and how we all go through these crazy seasons of difficulties, and how like life for him was getting wild and crazy. He was going through things trying to get out of those dark paths of himself. But then he seemed to have like a bright light in his life with the birth of his first son. Tragically, again, there's a plot twist where his child, his baby, passes away. And then like a few months later, he has the birth of his other son, which, like, how could you be a father after that? Which is what he's kind of talking about on this one. How life's wild chapters can make life difficult. The beat was produced by Hit Boy. It sounds not like your traditional Hit Boy track, where it's not as like loud and super poppy that you would expect. You have a T.I. feature on here, which is pretty decent. T.I. being like the OG trap rap guy from like the 2000s. So it's cool to see him get some shine on this project. And then even Novell, who sings like the chorus and on here, which like the first time on the track list we actually get like, you know, a real formulated song with like a sung chorus or like a hook. But I want to focus a little bit on the T.I. verse where he's talking about how, yeah, he's been there, done that with the trap life and is trying his best to live right. But then he's also been in the situations where he's driving a car loaded with drugs in the back and trying to keep his cool while he's being pulled over by a police officer and like handing over his license and registration and just praying to God that he doesn't open the trunk. I could imagine being in a situation like that. Oh my gosh, I would crumble. Like, that's heavy jail time. There's no way I could do that. The next song on here is one of my favorites. This song's called Guilty. It's a quick one. It's only like a 2.5 minutes, but Conway just really digs in and reflects on how he became paralyzed in his face. And some of these lyrics are just heart-wrenching, man. He's saying things like, just focus on the lyrics, don't focus on my appearance, things of that nature. But the whole song is just him talking about like how he has to deal with people always like scrutinizing his face and like just that being a distraction to the hustle and like the really decent art that he's making to try to get himself out of that past life that he was in. Another one of my favorite songs on here is the track called Stressed, which is basically Conway saying that, yo, listen, I'm stressed and I'm depressed, and then you guys keep asking things from me. You're just making my life more difficult by you just wanting money from me. Which I'm sure a lot of rappers go through, but him being that honest on the track, saying like, listen, I'm stressed and I'm depressed, I don't want to be here, and I don't want you like bothering me, is pretty harsh. And again, he has some pretty awesome lyrics on this one too. Life is about trials and tribulations and overcoming obstacles, but I'm tired of that shit I'm facing. Like, that's like some harsh stuff right there. That's like real life talking to you. And then even just like how haunting all the beats are on this album, it just really sends it home. He's talking about how people are worried about the bills they have to pay, but then he has a cousin who like killed himself, his first child dying, his face being paralyzed. Like, you got problems, he's got problems. It's a real like welcome to my world type track, and kudos for him being able to lay it all out there like that in such an honest and very serious way. Again, another very serious and honest track that Conway has is a song called So Much More, talking about how he's more than just like a drug dealing gang member who also raps. He's talking about all the good that he did during COVID. Like, he helped feed families. He spent, like he said, over like $2,000 to feed and pay for a lot of meals and everything. He was handing out winter jackets to the poor. He was feeding families. The guy was doing a lot of work and nobody cared to pay attention to it. And he's worked so hard to get to where he is now in life that like he's able to like do these type of things. But at the same time, you know, life can be rough, and like he's so much more than just a rapper. He's so much more than a drug dealer. Another song on here worth mentioning is John Woo Flick, which has Westside Gun on it. It's got the Griselda guys, his brother's on this one, and it's not like the best track on here, but like, listen, anytime Westside Gun's on the song, I'm listening to it. I love Westside Gun's voice. Something about his like, hey yo, his like super high pitched voice. I love his voice. But yeah, on this track, there's a lot of gun talk, a lot of drug talk, and in great detail. And so it's a good track. It's definitely worth listening to. But I think that like these Griselda kids are going to be somebody like it's going to be their best years are yet to come, I believe. One of the songs in here I really wasn't feeling, which I was excited about like the first couple times I listened to it, but the more I got to it, it kind of like waned on me. It was the track Chanel Pearls with Jill Scott on it. It's supposed to be this like romantic type track where like Jill's also like rapping and singing on it, but she just sounds awkward on the thing. And she's very talented. Jill Scott's been around for a long time, but there's something about this track I just wasn't feeling. And then you have the track Babas, which is kind of a weirder song, but it really leads into the very last track on here, God Don't Make Mistakes, which is an even better song. It's heart-wrenching. Conway's talking about all of the what-ifs that happen in his life, like if he did certain things, how they would follow up and like actually be in his life. Maybe he would have got shot in the face, he wouldn't have these type of issues, maybe he actually would have died, or what if that didn't happen, like things like that. It's a very introspective track. And then the very end, there's a voice memo of Conway's mom talking about like, God don't make mistakes, bring my son back. It's real heart-wrenching while he's like laying in bed of the hospital about to die. But yeah, in quick review, I dig this album. There's some really good songs on here. Some of the ones I really don't like, I can like skip and not listen to. But the songs like Stress, Guilty, then the last track, God Don't Make Mistakes, are all really great songs. Whenever the Machine's laying out all of his emotions and all of his thoughts in, like I said, in very vivid detail, I think this is like the best work that he's done. Probably the best, like, and the most dramatic album that these guys have released. And I'm feeling like a 79 on this project. But what do you think? Put your scores in the comment section below. Make sure you like and share this video. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Bigelow Reviews on Twitter and at 72BrettNerd27. And I will see you guys in the next one. Biggie out.